This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
This recording is going to be long as fuck, but it's on. And then we have the other podcasts. We've already got a picture from Dr. Pants. Thank y'all.
Excellent. You're like the student that always turns in the homework at the beginning of class and still wait instead of waiting for the teacher to be like, "Hey, go ahead and turn in your homework."
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's like sitting there on the desk.
Totally.
Not that it's homework, I really appreciate it. They always look so good. Right, yeah. Well, I was a teacher. I like to be clear about what the expectations are. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you what I told you.
I have applied that strategy to the Used to Sew podcast. I do a little intro, outro that like describes what the episode will be and then what we covered in the episode, like based on notes that I took as I'm editing. It's a whole fractaling outward thing. But I was like, I want it to be very, because like, especially when we started, my mom often didn't really do much of an intro. She would just go right into it. And I was like, that's a little abrupt.
Totally.
Like, we need an on-ramp into this. And now it's like a whole like part of the rhythm of creating them. It's like, well, there has to be a little capstone bookend thing to it.
And I feel like with us, it's like we're doing this chapter, right? Like, and that sort of is usually our lead in because we don't have to do much more than that. Yeah. This is a very unique format. Yeah. The prearranged structure of going through chapter by chapter is certainly, it gives us a structure that we didn't have to invent ourselves. Speaking of structure,
we are here today to do Nyneave's testing, which is exciting.
Very exciting.
I mean, one of the very first appearance I ever made on this show was for her accepted test.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's been that long since she was accepted.
Yeah, that was my very first scratchy connection into the show. First time caller, short time listener. So it's like, yet again, we're coming full circle around to something that reminds me of the very first time I joined in.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're here for her shawl test, which, we haven't seen a shawl test since New Spring.
Right.
So we will be referring to the New Spring set of chapters quite a bit as we go through this.
Which is going to be chapter 9 and 10 in New Spring, if you'd like to read along. But that was Moraine's rising up to Aes Sedai, because we haven't seen anybody else.
No, those are the only two. The
Yeah.
only two we ever get. And yeah, Moraine's was about 20 years ago. None of these women were necessarily involved in her raising, because these are all sitters.
Yeah,
Some of them weren't even Aes Sedai at the time. Like,
right.
A lot of the form of the test is the same, not just the ritual, but like the kinds of things they put her through. And Sanderson was obviously cribbing from that. I think it makes sense inward. Canonically, everyone will have to deal with an insect phobia. I feel like you don't have to be a lazy writer to like go for insects as like a thing to torture people with. But Sanderson clearly did more than follow the bare minimum of compatibility. He did a lot of copy and paste in some ways.
He definitely had New Spring open while he was writing this chapter, still side by side. There's no doubt in my mind, right? Like there's too many similarities, and including the one little error we found, which got corrected. Teaser.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very clear that like those two are he's using that as a template, and so a lot of the environment, a lot of the approach, a lot of the walk down, a lot of the description of the Terran Grial, a lot of the structure of going from star to star, all of that comes from very obviously New Spring.
Yeah. So with that, I will start the read-in for chapter 20, A Choice, and the symbol is a 6-pointed star set into tile.
Which I believe also, this is also the star in New Spring, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
In that chapter. So, but I don't think we've seen it very many other times. I think maybe once or twice in Tel Riyadh. It's a rare chapter icon.
Yeah, because it's got a very specific use case. You have to be in a very specific headspace in order to have the star apply.
According to Encyclopedia Watt, there are only 2 chapters with this icon.
Oh, this and the testing?
New Spring, chapter 9. Yep.
Okay. There you have it. It's literally an icon created for this specific context of doing an Aes Sedai test.
Which, for as much as I've complained about the icons, I'm glad to see one that's like a kind of rare instead of just another wolf dragon dice one.
It could have been the Flame of Tarvalon.
Right. Yeah. Totally. They could have done that without a problem. The white flame.
All right. Let me read this in. You must not speak, Rosil said to Nyneave. The slender, long-necked woman wore an orange dress slashed with yellow. At least, speak only when spoken to. You know the ceremony? Nyneave nodded, her heart beating treacherously as they walked into the dungeon-like depths of the White Tower. Rosil was the new mistress of novices, and a member of the Yellow Aja, by coincidence. Excellent, excellent, Rosil said. Might I suggest you move the ring to the third finger of your left hand? You may suggest it, Nyneave said, but did not move the ring. She had been named Aes Sedai. She would not give in on that point. Rosil pursed her lips, but said nothing further. The woman had shown Nyneave remarkable kindness during her short time in the White Tower, which had been a relief. Nyneave had grown to expect that every Yellow Sister would regard her with disdain, or at least indifference. Oh, they thought she was talented, and many insisted on being trained by her, but they did not think of her as one of them. Not yet. This woman was different, and being a burr in her sandal was not a good repayment. It is important to me, Rosil, Nyneave explained, that I not give any indication of disrespect for the Amyrlin. She named me Aes Sedai. To act as if I were merely accepted would be to undermine her words. This test is important. When the Amyrlin raised me, she never said I need not be tested, but I am Aes Sedai. Rosil cocked her head, then nodded. Yes, I see. You are correct. Nyneave stopped in the dim corridor. I want to thank you, and the others who have welcomed me these last days, Nyneave and Maramor. I had not assumed I would find acceptance here among you. There are some who resist change, dear, Rosil said. It will ever be so, but your new weaves are impressive. More importantly, they're effective. That earns you a warm welcome from me. Nyneave smiled. Now, Rosil said, raising a finger, you might be Aes Sedai in the eyes of the Amyrlin on the tower, but tradition still holds. No speaking for the rest of the ceremony, please. I had to do it through that read because it's so funny. Just the whiplash.
Yeah. I feel like we're attempting to redeem the Aes Sedai at this point in the story, right? We're attempting to show that they're not all bigoted, they're not all dumb, they can adapt to change. The ones that are left, at least, are a slightly better group than the ones we've gotten rid of. We don't have a bunch of black Aja sisters to be, mysteriously surly. We don't have just a lot of problems that were in the White Tower before.
Right.
And
right.
And I think also there's a little bit of Brandon Sanderson just trying to be like, there are good ones. He does it with Pavara. He's doing it now with Rosil, right? And these other two Yellows who are supportive of Nyneave.
And I'm assuming those two names must be some fans, because two random names that have no particular context.
I meant to look that up. Let me do it really quick.
I think Rosil is a character that just exists in her own right.
Rosil's been around for a while. She's been Mistress of Novices. She was appointed by Egwene as Mistress of Novices, and she has a couple of scenes that she's in, including this one.
Yeah, and she was mentioned before this point.
Yes.
Before Sanderson, so.
Nyneave is named for a fan of the Wheel of Time named Deborah, whose username was Nyneave Alman.
Nice.
And let me look up.
Maramor.
Whenever I copy stuff out of iBooks, it always puts this big long disclaimer in the copy. So then I go to, even though I'm copying one word, it pastes like 2 sentences into the thing. I'm just trying to copy a name. Why is copy and paste like that? Do not have a similar note about Maramor in the wiki.
Huh.
Let me see if I Google it. Nope, nothing.
Huh. Well, I'm going to assume that's a lost detail rather than a name that got made up for no reason.
I mean, it's entirely possible that Sanderson had names in place, and then when he was able to give people's names, he just erased names and replaced them, and maybe it's not both of them, maybe just one person. I don't know.
Hard to say.
Yeah, it's weird. It's hard to say. The documentation on that isn't the strongest.
Well. So yeah, Nyneave's got the jitters, and they're heading into a space that we have seen before. It's big, it's imposing, and Nyneave has to tell us directly that it is a symbol of how big and imposing this test is, because that wasn't obvious.
Right. Oh man, I almost feel like I need to read the 2 sentences in the 2 books just to get a kind of a comparison of the writing style differences.
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Do that, because it's very obvious between these two. These 2 moments are like a perfect laboratory to show the difference.
So here's Sanderson's. Eventually, they arrived at a pair of doors so large that Rosil had to use the one power to open them. An indication, Nyneave thought, folding her arms. The vaunted hallways, the enormous door. This is here to show accepted the importance of what they are about to do. The enormous gate-like doors swung open, and Nyneave forced herself to master her jitters. The last battle was looming. She would pass this test. Here's Jordan. On the very lowest level, Moraine stopped before paired doors larger than any they had passed, as tall and wide as fortress gates, but polished to glistening and lacking iron straps. The Aes Sedai channeled in flows of air swung the doors open silently on well-oiled hinges. Taking a deep breath, Moraine followed her into a large, round, domed chamber.
So different.
So different.
One of them feels elegant and streamlined, and it was not the first one.
It really, yeah, there's a certain amount of just like, here's the door's so large, Rosal had to use the one power to open them, versus huge doors lacking straps, Aes Sedai channeled. Right? Those are, all three of those are statements of fact. This one says, because of this, therefore that.
Right.
And I feel like that's the real, like, in one little statement, that's the difference between the two authors. Sanderson will often say, this happens because of that. Jordan will give you both of those facts and trust you to make the connection that one of those happens because of the other one. And that also lets him give you those facts in widely different places in the story. And then you get the enjoyment of discovering that they're linked, if you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Sanderson will always say, oh yeah, I'm bringing this up because remember back in chapter 3 when I said this other thing? That's why.
Right. And it feels so out of character for Nyneave to be like, wow, they're really using the architecture to like impress upon the accepted the importance of what they're going to do. Like, that's not the kind of like psychoanalytics that Nyneave ever engages in. She's like, these people are dumb and I want to hit them. Like, that's how Nyneave approaches things. Like, maybe it's because she's so nervous. She's like looking at weird, strange details and thinking about them in weird ways. But it just feels so like Nyneave would never psychoanalyze the size of the doors. That's just not what she does. And
then, okay, I have to keep doing comparisons, right? Head raised high, she entered the chamber. It was domed with stand lamps around the perimeter. A large terangrial dominated the center. It was an oval, narrowed at the top and bottom that sat unsupported. Many terangrial looked ordinary. That was not the case here. This oval was obviously something worked by the One Power. It was made of metal, but the light changed colors as it reflected off the silvery sides, making the thing seem to glow and shift. Going back to Jordan. Blinking her eyes went immediately to the object center beneath the dome. A great oval ring, narrow at top and bottom, its rounded rim little thicker than her arm. Well above a span in height and perhaps a pace across at its widest. It glittered in the lamplight, now silver, now gold or green or blue, with swirls of all, never the same for more than a moment, and a seemingly impossibility. It stood unsupported. That was a terangrial, a device made to use the One Power in the long ago Age of Legends. Within it, she would be tested. She would not fail.
More similar, but I still see the same thing, where Jordan is making statements, then Sanderson is making conclusions? Like, Jordan's just saying stuff and letting you connect it, whereas Sanderson is really leading you. It's less obvious in those two passages than the other pair we looked at, but it's still there.
And for this one, I would say it's more that Sanderson gives us a very simplistic description of an oval made of metal with changing colors. Jordan gave us a full paragraph about the way the colors shifted and the beauty and the silvery sides and how high it was and how wide it was and the thickness. And it is just, again, just the beauty in the description of that versus, yeah, it's a fucking oval, right? It's an oval that changes colors, you know, and there's a joy in the description of a beautiful object.
Journey over destination.
Yeah. Come on, Sanderson, you wrote that.
I know. Yeah. It's interesting.
It's a very interesting way to compare. We don't often get to do a one-to-one comparison in the scenes from Sanderson to Jordan, right? Oftentimes we're kind of saying like, well, this is Perrin, so it's probably Sanderson, and like this feels more like Jordan. But here we can really compare like the different way they described the exact same scene, the exact same room, and essentially the same thing happening at the same time.
And you know that Jordan was going to write this.
Yeah.
This is not a scene that Sanderson like decided would be cool. Like, everyone knew that Nyneave was going to get her Aes Sedai test. It was probably going to be seen on page. Like, Jordan definitely had some sketched out ideas of how this was going to go from years and years ago, right? Like, this was pretty much a foregone conclusion, unlike all the parent stuff where it's like, figure it out.
I would agree with you that he probably knew he was going to do this. I bet there was no notes on it.
Sure, but like, land's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of the hardest tests ever administered, right? There's certain aspects of it that like Jordan set us up to know the conditions.
Yes, absolutely.
But no, you're right. He probably didn't actually write any of it because it's like, well, I'll get there when I get there. I don't need to write notes. I know what's going to happen, like, obviously.
So Nynaeve's thinking to herself that Egwene's going to be among the most harsh, and she's correct.
Yeah, she's got all sitters, which would already make it harsh, but then she's also got the Amerlin, who's going to be extra harsh. Because, I mean, this is the Aiel Amerlin in so many ways. Like, this is going to be harsh. She's going to hold her to an Aiel level of standard.
This, in a way, though, takes me back to Egwene bringing up the Trollocs in the World of Dreams on Nyneave.
Oh,
Which I hate to reference that because that's an awful scene, but like that, Egwene didn't have to be there.
Yeah.
She could have stayed away. And if she'd stayed away, she wouldn't have had to be extra harsh on Nyneave. And Nyneave wouldn't have had the Two Rivers thing. She wouldn't have had the land thing. And Egwene's like, well, I wanted to be there to stop it. Well, you should have fucking stopped it then.
Yeah.
There is a level of abuse to Egwene being here that brings me back to that moment that just, it pisses me off. It pisses me off a little bit that she's here in this moment administering the worst, most personal shit against Nyneave under the excuse that, well, it's expected of me to be the harshest if I'm going to be here, which I don't have to be here.
Yeah, to prove that I was right to raise you. You need to suffer this abuse to prove to the others that I was right. Yeah, being thrown back in the ring with your abuser being so unapologetic like that is a little rude. And then, yeah, like when at the end, Saren says that was downright vengeful. And you look at the other, like the red sitter obviously is the vengeful one. And, Ramonda is clearly so mean because she's a yellow sitter. Blah, 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 blah. But like, is anyone going to dare to look at Egwene and be like, were you working some shit out there?
Yeah.
Were you trying to like get something back at your old mentor? Like, no one's ever going to look at Egwene and think that except us, apparently.
Well, yeah.
That's a really interesting thing to really drill into, though, that she didn't have to be there. She's like, oh, look what you made me do. Like, no, you made you do that.
Yeah, it very much feels like that. It's like, look how badly you make me hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew. Oh, Egwene, why do you have to be morally gray? So well written.
Because she's thinking about her own power. She's not necessarily thinking about Nynaeve as a friend. And there's a certain level of Nynaeve as a mother figure is expected to take the abuse and just roll with it.
Yeah. And I mean, she does. 5 minutes later, she's like, thank you, mother. May I have another?
Totally.
Like,
and there is a certain, I think about Nynaeve as very much the mother of the Emond's Field 5, right? She's the one who's there to take care of them. A little more mature. Yes, Egwene does sort of come up, but as any daughter would come up and mature and have to be on equal footing with their mother as adults, right?
right.
But Nynaeve, as this mother figure, her children, in quotes, don't consider the burden they're putting on her. The way Rand uses her to cleanse the source. And the way she nearly dies doing that, right? The way, there's a certain amount of just like, Nynaeve takes it. And she is strong enough to take it.
Yeah. She rolls out of this being like, that was good for me. Like, was it?
Was it?
I don't know.
Yeah, apparently. Fuck. Yeah, it just helped me realize how fucking tough I actually am and what I care about, which is land.
Yeah, which I'm just like, she's tough. She's tough as nails. Tough as titanium nails. So she goes through the little intro ceremony thing, also tweaking it, right? The ring. First it was the ring. She's got the ring on the wrong hand. And now she says she wants to show that she is worthy. Not to learn if she is worthy, but to show that she is worthy. This is, again, she's being very literal in how she's interpreting this in such a way that she's loopholing her way into not accepting all the bullshit of the Aes Sedai while also taking their approval, which is kind of fun. I kind of like that wordplay from her, though I also, am like, you're being very autistically literal, Nyneave. Maybe just stop seeking their approval and live your best life.
Because let's see, reading again. For what reason have you been summoned here to be tried? That's the same. For what reason should you be tried? Nyneave says, to show that I am worthy. And then Moraine says, so that I may learn whether I am worthy.
And again, this is just the most autistic line ever. She didn't say it to be arrogant. Once again, she simply stated the truth as she saw it. Egwene had raised her. She wore the shawl. Why pretend that she didn't? I'm like, Nyneave, come sit at the autistic kids' table.
Just read the ceremony as it's written on the page. No one's going to, like, it's fine. No one's
it's
saying
okay.
It's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. The other thing I really want to talk about was the pointed star, the two overlapping triangles, right? On the chapter icon, it's very much the split point star. There's not the lines that form the two triangles.
Right.
So I do think that like the icon may be a little deceptive, right? Because it doesn't really agree with the description in the chapter.
It's a 6-pointed star, but it's not two overlapping triangles.
Right.
Right. Though I am, as now I've got the quilting bug in my brain, I'm looking at it going, can I quilt that? How can I quilt that?
Yeah, you can definitely quilt that.
I should do a quilt of all the chapter icons.
Ooh, yes. That would be amazing.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Anyway,
what have we done?
Sorry.
Which, and in our world, it's very much like the Star of David, right? The two overlapping triangles form that.
Yeah, two overlapping triangles is the most quintessential Jewish symbol of all time. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. So on one level, I don't know if that's relevant at this point. I can't believe he did not think about that when he was writing this as that symbol.
Jordan repeatedly describes it as two overlapping triangles, which is not what this symbol is. This is a 6-pointed star. Those are different ways of describing very similar outlines, but the inner part is very different. And yeah, I've always thought it was a little strange that he had those two slightly incongruous descriptions overlapping, but whatevs.
So what I was thinking about is a couple of things. Portal stones and snakes and foxes. And specifically the symbols that we see surrounding the portal stones and the snakes and foxes. For example, remember Rand's symbol for our world is a upside down triangle with an arrow through it. I can't remember if it's broken or not. They go through all 4 options. I can't remember which one's the right one.
But triangles are a big part of the base symbology there. Yeah.
And with snakes and foxes, you have a triangle with a snake running through it, right? But again, it feels like these are like, oh, if we're going, our world seems to be this triangle with the arrow through it. What if we're going to a close world? And that's 2 triangles. So it's related to ours through the triangle. And then you have an upside down triangle as this other symbol on top of that.
It's the upside down.
Yeah, it's the upside down version of it, right?
Oh, I like that. Our world is a triangle and these other worlds are in inverse. So you can have 2 triangles positioned in an aesthetically pleasing way to symbolize that. I like that.
And in some way, that's referencing the world of dreams that they're going into, right? Like, because this is related to the world of dreams. Because again, Sanderson says that straight out, even though we've speculated about it in the past.
Well, and even if he didn't say it straight out, the way he describes a lot of what she does with her mind is like, he didn't have to say it straight out because he wrote it. He wrote it subtly and overtly that that's what was happening.
Which is Sanderson's signature.
But yeah. And then, doing the upside, it's such a fun symbol, like a 6-pointed star. The 2 overlapping triangles is fun. And if you do triangles overlapping the other way to make like a dimensional thing, then you're flirting with a whole other symbol and you don't want to flirt with that symbol. That's not a good symbol. Mm-hmm. There's some neo-Nazi things where they triangles stacked together can go some bad places.
Gotcha.
In that lexicon.
I mean, I've seen it where if you slide one of the triangles up so the points are together, then it's an hourglass. And if you slide one of the triangles down so that the bases are touching, then you have a diamond, right? And so, as I have inevitably referenced many times, Sluggy online comic uses some triangle symbology with its gods, because one of them is a time god, and so he's got the 2 triangles pointed. And then there's also, they go back in time and there's actually 2 pyramids. One's floating upside down in the sky above the other one. And that's the pyramid of the gods. And the one on bottom is the pyramid of man. And you can transfer at the point from one to the other. But that whole thing makes, of course, an hourglass symbol.
Sure.
Right. So, which represents time and gods and all that kind of stuff. So, I think that I just really, I don't know why the symbology here I wanted to get deep into it. It's one sentence. It doesn't really matter that much.
Triangles are cool. Okay. Everyone knows that food tastes better when it's in a triangular form. And triangles are like the strongest structure in terms of just, you want to make something strong, get triangles involved.
And hexagons are the bestagons, but they're made up of triangles.
Right. Absolutely.
And triangles are stable. We live in a 3-dimensional world, so we need 3 lines. Like there's so many reasons why, triangles are significant.
Yeah, and it's a very base ingredient to quilting.
Mm-hmm.
starting with triangles and then going upward from there and assembling triangles on triangles on triangles is a huge way to do quilting.
Geometry in general, right? I mean, Pythagorean theorem, right? I mean, almost our entire knowledge of triangulation of distance to stars in the sky, like everything we do is based on triangles. Like, it's such a fundamental part of everything else we do in math.
Our entire like sensory system, right? Like the concept of parallax, the concept of having two different sensory inputs for ears or eyes, and like knowing all of that. Triangles
It's
all the way down.
It's so true. So then we get this weave of spirit that she gets touched with before she goes in. And it's not explicitly stated, but I assume it's why she's able. So here's the question. Does the weave of spirit let her remember the things she's able to remember? Otherwise, she would have no memories. Or does it get rid of her memories that she would normally have?
Right, because the weave affects her memory, but in what way? I think it must be both. I think it must be a suppression of some sets of memories and a hyper focus on others. It's got to be a pushing and pulling at the same time.
It almost feels a little bit like compulsion.
It is definitely a subunit of the overall compulsion weave. Absolutely. Oh, that's gross. That's gross. That's gross. Hey, Aes Sedai, you know what? Y'all are perverts. Ugh.
My generous way of interpreting it is that going into this ter'angreal wipes your memories, and with experimentation, they've able to restore a few key. Someone figured out a weave where we can't give you all your memories back, but we can give you a couple of things to remember while you're in there. And so that's why she's able to remember how many weaves she's done and the thing about the stars, right? Because it's all the stuff that's basically said between the beginning of the weave and the ending of the weave is like, we're going to lock those into your memory so that even though you forget everything else about what's going on, you will at least remember these couple of commands.
Remember what must be remembered. Not what you want to remember, not what you think would be handy, but what must be remembered.
Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's a little more generous way of being like, okay, they're just giving you these, they start the weave, then they talk about going to the stars. Only when you reach it may you embrace the source. Weaving must begin immediately. You know, that she gets basically all the rules between the beginning of the channeling of that and the ending.
It's kind of like Varen's version of compulsion, right? Where she sets it up and then she triggers the weave a little bit, gives the instructions, and then finishes it. It's kind of like that.
It's almost like she used that as maybe the basis. As, you know, maybe that helped her a little bit, right?
Possibly. Yeah. No, that's really interesting because it makes sense, right? That compulsion is made of a lot of other skills that have to get compiled together, a lot of little modules. And like you can use those modules on their own in isolation to treat other ailments or conditions. And yeah, we get in the accepted test, we get discussions about sending women in with protection, and then they got screwed up and they sent women in without protection and they were much better off. So yeah, somehow they figured out how to throw a couple of instructions in there for what must be remembered. But fascinating. I wonder how many people's like childhoods they completely wiped out before they figured out, you know, how to modulate that.
How many people came back like not remembering? Yeah, who knows?
Right. They're like, I'm your wife. I've never met you in my life. So now we get to the mistake.
Yes. So after this point, and I was reading and I was going, you know, because I'm reading New Spring and I'm reading the book and I've got the digital copy. And so I'm reading it and she's about to enter and Rosal took the clothing. The other sisters were completely absorbed in their work. The ter'angreal began glowing a pure white in the center, then started to revolve slowly, grinding against the stone. And my mind immediately went, it's floating. Why would it grind against the stone? That doesn't make any sense. Plus, like, wouldn't the stone wear away? That just seems like a weird, not accurate. So then I go back and look at New Spring. Again, much more beautiful descriptions of the whole thing, much more elaborate. I'll read that. The air in the opening of the ring suddenly turned to a sheet of white. It seemed somehow whiter than the wool of her skirts, whiter than the snow or the finest paper. Yet rather than reflect on the stand lamps, it seemed to absorb some of their light, making the chamber grow dim. And then the tall oval ring began to revolve slowly on its base, without the slightest sound of stone grating against whatever it was made of. And the grinding against the stone, and without the sound of grinding against the stone. Like, it's literally the same sentence, just with the word without in it. And I think when Sanderson had his notes open, he literally just missed the word without.
I mean, I have missed words in that way many times. I can totally imagine how it happened. But
And
then
so
the funny thing is,
I was telling
Seth's
Rady
telling
this.
me,
I was like all excited that I found this error. And she's
and
like,
I
no,
was
no.
like, wait, look at this. It says it started to revolve slowly, moving silently against the stone, because I have a later edition printing of the book.
And so someone else
did
caught this
fix it.
error and fixed it.
Someone fixed it. Someone somewhere along the way was like, this is a literal error. This is like land sharpening a power wrought sword.
Right.
This needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And so it was.
You can see the quotes are directly wrong between the two books. But I'm very proud of myself for spotting that one without having the correction.
Hell yeah. That's absolutely some deep nerd credit. And obviously the audiobooks would have the original because they don't
Right.
re-edit that stuff. So
Right.
that one's going to be, if you listen to the audiobooks, you will hear the wrong version, but it's okay. Now you know.
Now you know. So she goes in and, you got the structure of the testing that, again, we saw almost the same structure in New Spring, which is she goes in, she's attacked, she walks calmly over to the star, and she uses the wall of air to stop whatever's attacking her, right? Pretty basic. First one sets up the stakes, how it works, what you're doing.
It's the tutorial level.
It's the tutorial level, yes. We'll talk about that more later. Not on this podcast. And then this whole, like, she enters into the next thing. Her memory gets wiped again, and all she remembers is that she's completed the first 100. She has to walk to the star and be calm. She can't channel till she gets there. Basically, she remembers nothing but the rules and how many times she's done this.
And there's a reset to nudity at the beginning.
It's whatever they want to clothe you in, right? Sometimes it's nudity. Sometimes it's the clothing that makes you look ridiculous. Sometimes they don't bother and just put you in whatever is appropriate, right? It's whoever's running that weave.
Yeah, sometimes you're just whatever you were in the last one.
Right.
And then, we start out with pretty mild, trying to help generalized people things and being attacked by monsters, though I do think it's interesting in the second vision how the monsters don't look quite right. I'm guessing that's because whoever's generating the Trollocs has never actually seen a Trolloc in person. It's like
Totally.
the paintings where they look at the paintings and they go, well, the Trollocs or the weapons do or don't look right. I feel like that's this here, is that Nyneave's being attacked by Trollocs and she knows better than the test maker what Trollocs look like.
That, or just someone trying to make the Trollocs look scarier, thicker fur, eyes hidden, right? Like trying to make, but that's the only thing. Yeah, I agree with your thesis more.
Yeah, they look wrong to her. Not souped up, but wrong. It's like those medieval paintings where you can tell that the author said, yes, I've seen horses. I've totally seen horses before. Absolutely. I know what a horse looks like.
Mm-hmm. Don't believe you.
So she's, doing the thing that I think Moraine figures out by the end of the test, but Nyneave starts out there with weaponizing the weaves, like
Yes.
immediately right off the bat. Just like, I can make these weaves big and bad. And I feel like Moraine does get there in the end with her test, but it's not out of the gate.
Moraine's testing is also not quite as brutal. Like, it's a little brutal
Fair.
because she's got Elida there who's being a total dick, but it's really more just the last one. Like, her 100th one is really pretty mean. But that's just
Right.
one out of the 100. Whereas Nyneave's are like...
It's a lot more puzzles and emotional abuse for Moraine.
Yeah, and she gets stung, and she gets scraped, and she gets cut. Like, she's not totally immune from the dangers. But it does seem to be that the ongoing cruelty, especially with Nyneave, where they start, like, every single time there's children, she has to abandon children in danger, right? Like, they see what hurts her and lean on it hard. And it gets worse and worse and worse as the testing goes on. That doesn't seem to be the case with Moraine. Moraine seems to face a couple of bad ones, but it doesn't seem to be this escalating, well, you're breaking the rules, so we're going to get harsher on you, which is going to force you to break the rules more, which is going to make them like there was this feedback loop in Nynaeve's testing where the more she was able to overcome by quote unquote breaking the rules, the meaner they got to her. And that
Right. Whereas, Elida was one woman on a personal vendetta, which involved a lot of like psychological torture rather than just physically beating her the whole test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So this is the 47th weave we get after the first two.
Yeah, we POV switch, or we time jump, because obviously we're not going to do 100 of these things. So we hop to roughly the middle at number 47. And we start with her already so crazed that she's just hurling herself off of cliffs without even flinching, because she can see that the gateway is like below.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like she's already like, clearly she has been pushed to do some wild stuff and is very much in the rules of Teleron Riyadh apply, right? She's just trusting the process and not being like, this is impossible. She's like, okay, no, this is clearly possible, because whatever, it's fine. That's where we open this POV part. And she's starting to get the impression that someone wants her to fail. This is where the Teleron Riyadh training is starting to show, because she's starting to gather a larger impression of her circumstances, which is that she's in a contest of wills with someone while she's undergoing this ordeal.
And seems to be remembering it a little bit better, right? She's not getting wiped as every time. She seems to be like, yeah, she's getting a sense of all of these things going on as she's being wiped. It's like she's not being fully wiped every time. She's hanging on to a little bit of knowledge.
Right. The void in her mind is starting to build a picture by its articulation. So yeah, she hears a child screaming. She gets attacked by bugs. It's gross, but still not the worst of what she's going to get put through. She's really starting to question being calm. This is also the other important thing, is she's really starting to question the calmness. And again, very autistically, like, but why? Why? This is dumb.
And I think this is one of those where she says, oh, we noticed that children really hurt you. I think this is the one where they notice that the children really do make her, like, distressed.
Yes. Now we get to number 48. And 48 is the one where children in active crying distress, begging for her help specifically, become a feature rather than, oh, the sound of children in danger. No, now it is 4 children who are begging for their lives that she has to walk away from. And that will now be the rest of her test. Every single test, it seems, it is implied, involves some variation on this level of piteous child begging for their life. And she just has to go through it over and over again. It's awful. It kind of reminds me of the scene in her accepted test when she's in the 2 rivers and that evil wisdom has taken over, and Moraine is like begging for help with the fact that there's this evil woman who has taken over. Like, this mistress of the orphanage, right, has left and did not come back. There's this tyrannical mother figure gone wrong that has abandoned the mission, and Nyneave, has to walk away from that.
And is actively poisoning children. Yeah.
Right. And then Nyneave has to walk away from that. I like the fact that it's that deep of a callback to her accepted test, even though none of these women were probably involved in that. This is entirely authorial bleed through, but I'm fine with it.
Well, I am in a way. I'd like to see her prove herself in another way other than just, oh yeah, we still need to make sure you can abandon children for the cause, right? Like, it's like, okay.
Well, but it's just such a part of her subconscious fears, and it was part of her trauma with the Aes Sedai, that, like, if her mind is contributing to the algorithm, this makes a lot of sense as a callback. But yes, having it be overdone felt needlessly cruel to us as the readers as well.
So then we get to the 87th one.
Yeah, we do a quick montage of all the horrible things and then slow down again at, I wrote 81 on mine. Yeah, 81st Weave.
Okay. You're right.
And now we're in the 2 rivers. The 81st trial is the 2 rivers, which is very well detailed because Egwene is the one feeding the details in.
Right. And so she knows this is one that really hurts. And it's the one that first breaks her calm, right? This is the point where she first runs to the star instead of walking calmly to it.
It has been almost 20 weaves since she started to question, since she started to get angry, since she started to put together, because it was 47 to 81, right?
Yeah. So that's almost 40, 35. Yeah.
Okay. So it's been almost 40 weaves that she's been like, I know something's wrong. I know I'm in a contest of wills. I know these rules are dumb. And now, after almost half of the duration of the test of thinking about that, now her home in full detail is in danger. And she's like, fuck it. I'm going to run. I'm going to disobey the rules that make no sense because these people's lives matter more.
And so she embraces the source. She runs. And while she's running, she embraces the source. She embraced the source, and something seemed to try and stop her. Something like a shield. She pushed it aside with difficulty, and power flooded her. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's Teleron Riyadh, because I know that's sort of what Egwene says it is. It might just be her overwhelming strength pushing aside a shield, right? Because if you're strong enough, you can break a shield.
Where do you think the shield is coming from? Is that like a deliberate creation of an Aes Sedai, or is it just like a built-in safety feature of the ter'angreal?
I think it has to do. I want it to be the person who's making the event, right? That it has related to their strength, but I don't think they're actively making the shield. I think the shield is a result of Teleron Riyadh. It's just a weave type situation. At best, it has to do with the memory weave that's put into her, right? There's nothing physically stopping her. It's just like, you're not supposed to. There's a mental block against channeling before you get to the star because of that weave. And that weave, like we said, may have some aspects of compulsion. It may have some aspects of like actually having a shield on her, like this conditional shield, right? Like maybe there is something with that in that weave.
Yeah, because I just couldn't see a human on the other side responding that quickly to her choice to channel. It felt like it had to be something that, like, the world or the ter'angreal was manifesting. But yeah, clearly it's overridden either by her skill in Teleron Riyadh or by her overwhelming power. Either way, it's inadequate to the task of keeping her from channeling. And as we see later with the balefire, maybe part of the reason for that is the way that it can facilitate, or the way that it can provide like the stimuli of channeling is strained by balefire. Balefire is hard to simulate. Balefire is balefire, right?
Right, and it's destroying things. Yeah. That's always the question is, would balefire? It seems to be destroying things that are not necessarily. It's doing more damage than it should, right? It punches into the ground.
Right, exactly.
And so the ground is simulated, and the balefire is destroying the simulation of the ground rather than destroying the ground.
Exactly. It's like if you're in a Star Trek holodeck and you somehow manage to damage the holodeck itself instead of damaging like whatever the holodeck is making you think you're seeing. Like if you actually are like, oh, that's a wall. I broke the wall. Now the
projection's
plants are
not working.
Zapping and like it's kind of like that. Like normally you're fine, but sometimes you get a weapon that's too big and powerful, and then the holodeck shuts down and everyone's confused.
I very much enjoy the vastly increasing the strength of the very simple weave to create giant rings of fire to burn the Trollocs with. Like that's again directly from the New Spring version of it, where Moraine is using the weaves to protect herself and use them against the enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also so Nyneave. Just make it bigger and hit people with it. And she still thinks this is more important than the two rivers, right? She still abandons people because she's still committed to the test. But like, yeah, the controls are slipping hard now. And so she passes from the 81st. We do another time jump over the remaining 20. And we get to the 100th.
30.
Yeah, remaining 30. And we get to the 100th. She is now braidless, absolutely exhausted, burned, scratched, and broken in every way, basically.
Can I just say, like, I'm really disappointed we didn't get to see her braid.
Yes.
Destroyed.
Absolutely.
It's such an integral part. Like when I go back, like I didn't even realize that she lost her braid until much later when she talked about how she reached up to grab it and it was too short. And I was like, wait, when did you lose that? And it's like, oh, during the thing. I had to go back and reread multiple times to be like, when did her braid come off? I cannot believe it's like killing a main character off screen. Nynaeve's braid is such a main character that burning it off on one of these missions off screen feels just absolutely cowardly to me.
Absolutely. Like, it was annoying when Matt killed Couladin off screen, but whatever. He was a, like, half-rate villain anyhow. Like, it's fine. Nynaeve's braid is, like, the sixth member of the band, okay? How dare you? How dare you? It makes me mad, too. It really, that hair deserves more respect. Makes me so mad.
Totally.
I mean, we got to see Cariana's hair getting boiled off in that nightmare or whatever, you know? I mean, she cut it after because it was all damaged. But, like, we literally saw that with a random Aes Sedai dingbat, but we can't see it for Nynaeve. Like, that braid deserved better. It's fine to have her lose it as, like, this massive, horrific, oh, my God, no one is safe kind of moment. I'm fine with the desecration, but to have it be off page is disrespectful.
Somehow the braid was removed.
Absolutely. Maybe he just like couldn't write it without it feeling like weirdly fetishistic and was just like, you know what? I can't. I don't know.
But, just something where she's on the star, something's attacking her. She has to use the weave to fight back, but they're clinging on her braid. And it's like, oh, she has to create like a bubble around herself or something to protect herself. And her braid's outside the bubble. And so it gets cut off.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
That would be
in order
cool.
to get free, she like has to use the weave to like slice her own hair off. Like, yeah, totally. That would have been great. And
having that be like, oh yeah, someone knows that she values her hair, right? And creates a situation where her hair has to come off. That would have been an interesting test. Can you abandon your hair?
I think it's really cool that you're so upset about this, given how much head hair you have. I think it's really cool that you're so gung ho for protecting Nynaeve's luscious locks.
Listen, I have been growing this hair out for like 5 or 6 hours at this point, and it is like I value what I have. I wouldn't want it to get cut off until tomorrow when I shave it again. I am bald as a cue ball, folks, right now. For a while now. Before I met my wife, actually, she would not know what I looked like. She sees old photos of me with hair. She's like, I'm glad you shaved it.
Good move.
Yeah, no, it's I cannot recommend it highly enough. If you're thinning, it's been much better for me. Also saves me a bunch of money on haircuts.
I just have Brandon do my hair.
Right.
So
right.
That saves me money. I have a very simple haircut though. It's either you leave it alone or you make it all as short as possible, like every 6 weeks. It's 2 settings. Anyway, Nynaeve's braid, R.I.P. So she gets offered the opportunity to go naked or dress as an accepted. She chooses nudity because she will not be an accepted no matter what. This is very symbolic. And then they give her a yellow dress and she will put that on. She will take the time to put a yellow dress on.
Well, and you're saying they.
Yes.
This is Egwene again.
Yeah, I'm confused about how much it's a collaborative process versus like a one baton pass kind of thing.
It really feels like it's a one baton pass, that one person, like, because she did say, I was the 2 rivers, I was Lan, I was those visions, right? It seems like they take turns, and then every time. I also think that if it was collaborative, it would be less evil, right? Because everyone test by committee would be more bland.
Sure. So that means that like every 7th test would have been a little bit less fucked up because Saren was so mad at all the rest of them by the end. I mean, she was probably giving like relatively less bad ones.
Hopefully, yeah.
Otherwise, she's just as guilty of the thing that she's angry about. So, but okay. So I've always kind of imagined it as like a jam session where like one person's leading, but everyone else is still playing. It's not like a solo a cappella thing.
Maybe, but I see that as too difficult to coordinate fast enough that like basically it's like when you have a circle, there's one person leading it and that gets passed around.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I want it to be like a jam circle though. That would be
Strawberry?
Cooler. But you're right. But no, I think you're right. It would be blander to have it be a collaborative process. It would be very on brand for the Aes Sedai's weird isolationist, petty, vindictive attitude over the last 3,000 years to have it be like, okay, now it's your turn to torture the girl in the middle. Okay, now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. And everyone else is supplying power, but is otherwise helpless to influence each thing until it's their turn.
That's my headcanon, yeah.
That fits with the Aes Sedai's personality as an institution way better. I like it less, but that fits the canon.
And that means that Egwene here, and again, this is where I think she's trying to prove herself as the Amyrlin seat, is like, you're an let me put you in accepted dress for this final thing. But then when Nynaeve refuses to put that on, Egwene says, okay, then I'll give you an actual dress. So I think the other Aes Sedai would not have given her a yellow dress to put on if she'd refused the accepted dress.
Also, that means probably that she did allow the Lan simulation to help Nynaeve, because I noticed at the very end that Lan actually helps her up. Like after she commits to like, I would rather die, like Egwene through Lan is like, okay, fine, don't die. Come on. I need you to not die. I'll have the simulation help you get through the door because I need you to not die.
Right. And so the simulation is Lan comes running out, chased by dark hounds.
Right, they're in Malkir. She's seeing the ruins of Malkir. It's easy for her to get to and from the star, but then she sees Lan in an impossible situation, fighting too many dark hounds to possibly fight. And it would be easy for her to get away from the test, except for the part where it's Lan, because husband stuff.
And then here's a really important section, right? I think this is super important. She blinked and looked down at her hands. In the direct center of each palm was a tiny scar, almost unnoticeable. Seeing them sparked a memory in her.
Yes.
Nyneave, I love you. This was a test. She could remember that now. So this is the moment she looks down her hands. Those are from the blackberry bush that stabbed her during her accepted test, right?
The way back comes but once, unless you're Nyneave.
Unless you're Nyneave. And so this, she broke that test. And this is her breaking this one and having a memory of that, right? This is her.
Yeah. I really liked that callback because it's such an important part of her accepted test. The fact that she basically broke it, then she's breaking it now. It's so perfect. And again, I don't think Egwene knew all of those details. Like, this is drawing out of Nynaeve's own experience, right? Like, her thoughts are not being...
I mean, the scars on her hands, yeah. No, her thoughts aren't being controlled, and her physical body is hers, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, this is all her. This is her interpretation, her experience, her mind breaking through. And I also love, too, that she, despite the fact that she's exhausted and Lan is startling her, she finished the weave without even really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she is such an Aes Sedai. She'll finish the damn weave while she's having an existential crisis.
Well, and it's also, she is so goddamn powerful and so talented that what is a challenge for everybody else is child's play to her. Like, doing these 100 weaves. Because remember, she had to study them. Remember back in Air Daman, she was forced to study them. And, like, she just, it's like when you get to work and you're like, wait, did I drive here? Shit, I don't remember. Yeah, it's that level of, like, she can just weave them. It's no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But now she's in this place of like, am I abandoning my husband? No, it's a simulation. I don't care, right? She's so exhausted and burned out emotionally that she's just like, no, I'm saving my fake simulation husband. You can't stop me.
Which to me was a little odd because for me, it's like, oh, it's a simulation. All right, peace. See ya. Like, there's a certain level of like, once you realize it's a simulation, shouldn't you just like be able to walk away from it a little bit easier? But that's just me, I think.
Well, she's also like wavering on the edge of like just passing out from exhaustion, right? She's confused and muddled and just refusing to play their game. And that, it really reminds me of Rand here. The way that she's just like, I will not do what the Aes Sedai want. I will become an icy rage machine. And, you know, it's that Two Rivers culture. You don't need the genetics. You just need the culture to have this be how, when you get really pushed into a corner. And then, yeah, she balefires the entire simulation and starts hitting control panels in the holodeck walls.
And I wished the reaction to that was a little more, we barely held it together, kind of in the way that the resonance nearly destroyed the accepted test. I would like
Egwene?
To see with Egwene. Like, this to me, it didn't feel like there was that many. They were like, oh, that could have destabilized the Terangral. She's like, well, it didn't. They're like, yeah. But I think there should have been more like, yeah, because we barely held it together. We're all nearly dead from keeping you from, like, at the last minute destroying the Terangrial and taking us all out. Like, we barely pulled you out of that because of the balefire. That would have hit home a little more than tisk, 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 don't do that.
Yeah, I definitely would have liked to be like, yeah, you see this ding on the side of the Terangrial that's indestructible? That was the time that we barely kept balefire from coming out and hitting the real world.
And I would like to see the people who are doing the weave just like on their knees from exhaustion, like nearly dead from keeping the Terangrial stabilized.
Well, they're described that way, but it's just from the test overall. They never say because of the balefire. It's just because the test was long and hard. It's that the balefire didn't actually make a difference. Anyway.
And then there's this scene where she grabs Lan and comes running out the doorway, and he's gone. And honestly, you know what this reminded me of more than anything else?
That scene in the show?
The show and her accepted test.
Yeah.
With her child.
When I saw that in the show, I was like, oh, like with Lan and the Aes Sedai test at the end. I see where they got that from. And I'm not mad about it. The idea of trying to bring someone through and having it fail is like, no, that's good horror. That's a yes. But yes, I totally, when I saw the show, I was like, I know where that came from. I know. It's this. It's
like you sacrifice everything to save them and get them to your place of safety. And then that just ends them as well.
Yeah. The "it was all a dream" rip away is brutal. Very effective gut punch.
Okay. Her entire body was afire with pain. Her shoulder, legs, and arms and back still bled. She was burned to blisters and swaths across her body, and the greater part of her braid was gone.
And she has to get healed immediately before anything else can happen, because she is like actively going into shock as they all like get up and are trying to recover from the weave getting released. So they heal her, and then they start arguing.
Saren, now would someone please tell me what in the name of creation itself that was? I have been part of many a raising, even one where the woman didn't survive, but I have never, in all of my days, seen a woman put through what this one just suffered.
Get them, Saren. Get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't properly. That wasn't proper. That was downright vengeful.
Almost any one of those tests was beyond what I've seen demanded of any other woman.
Almost any one of them. Like, again, back to Moraine. 20 years ago, any one of those would have been her final boss battle.
Exactly. And if you look back, that was her last one, was awful. But, like, it was one.
Right. The boss battle was the one that she barely thought she would survive. Not literally every single one did she survive by the skin of her teeth. It's like she just did, video game on hard mode on one save or something, where everyone else got to be on easy mode with endless saves.
And then I kind of hate the next part where they're arguing over whether or not she deserves to be an Aes Sedai.
Oh my god, I will smack every last one of them.
It's so ridiculous.
I'm glad that Saren ends up being the deciding vote because of the way that she defended her right out of the gate. It's like, thank you for having it be Saren who got to make that final call. Oof.
And I underlined, one should not demand calmness for the mere sake of calmness, and a prohibition on running when there are people you need to save is foolish. It's like, yeah. Niceness
and politeness are not as important as actual justice and actual care and actual love. Like, right? That's what this is. It's just very autistic literalism of like, but why? Why am I being calm? If calm is just to soothe your fragile feelings, then no, I don't care about that. Why would I care?
Speaking of the autistic stuff, you flouted the rules. I couldn't flout them. I didn't remember I'd been given them. I could remember what I was supposed to do, but not the reasons. That's why I broke the rules. I thought they were just arbitrary. If I can't remember why, then I'm not going to do it. And when you keep being like, oh, this is like, yeah, if I don't understand why the rule exists, I'm not going to follow it. And I think that's the difference, right? Between someone who is just, oh, it's a rule, I follow it because it's a rule, versus I follow it because it's a good rule.
Right.
And the whether it's a good rule or not, you need to know why.
Yeah, there's nothing like telling an autistic person why to do a thing to get them locked in on doing it that way. Mm-hmm. It's and then also there's the part of us that's just like, well, it's the rule, so I'm gonna stand behind this line, even though empirically there's no need to like I can just walk up to the counter, but no, I'm gonna stand behind the line until I'm mm-hmm. There are arbitrary rules that we follow sometimes for no goddamn reason because we're very, very good at following the rules. But yeah, this whole like, I thought it was arbitrary, so I made a judgment call.
Well, those rules, the rules I think you're talking about are rules that are kind of usually part of a system that get people to interact. We're like, okay, if this is the system that we're all supposed to follow to interact with other people, we'll follow it, right? Even though it doesn't make sense, but that's because other people don't make sense.
Right, exactly. Well, it's how we know to get what we want. But yeah, she was in a place where there was no sense of the rationale, so she did what was efficient.
And then Egwene sort of says, oh, you've spent too much time in the world of dreams, that's why you're able to break it. And I don't know about that. Like, I understand that that's what they're trying to imply, and it is a very much world of dreams test. But I think Nyneave would have broken it whether or not she'd spent that much time in the world of dreams. I think she just, in the same way that she broke the accepted test.
Yeah, that's a really good argument, because I was going to say, no, she's used to being in other worlds where the rules are bendy, but you're right. She did nothing different than what she did in her accepted test, at which point she'd never heard of Teleron Riad, because that was literally the day of arriving at the tower.
Right.
So, yeah, it's good that you have the Teleron Riad excuse for purposes of talking with the other Aes Sedai, but yeah, actually it might have just been that she's OP. End of statement. She's just OP for everything in all contexts.
The stubbornness alone, right? Like, if I don't know why I have to do it, I'm not going to do it, right? That's always going to be true of Nyneave.
Yeah. And also, like, this is the contrast between Nyneave and the Aes Sedai, right? This is what Rand points out with, like, don't let them change you, is where she thinks, if losing my title is what would be required to save someone's life, I'd do it every time. Not saving them wouldn't be serving a higher good. It would just be selfish. Like, that's what the White Tower has lost the plot on, is like decorum above all else, form above literally all else, even results, form over function to an absurd degree. And she's just like, the Dragon Reborn told me that y'all lost the plot, and this is me keeping on the plot. The real plot is to be a servant of all. That's what matters. Being called a servant of all is not what matters. Being a servant of all is what matters.
Have you ever seen that? It's circulating around the internet, but like the CIA's summary of how to sabotage a business, or how, like, if you're working somewhere and you want to make it like not function, and it's doing things like following all the rules exactly, standing on ceremony, calling lots of meetings, like doing all of these things that are very much like, oh, I am supposed to do this, and if malicious compliance, essentially.
Yeah, malicious compliance being seen as a virtue is definitely the kind of bullshit that Ishamael used the Black Aja to thread the White Tower through with
exactly.
over and over again. Like, we can argue about how deep all the conspiracies run, but that attitude, that has to be partially inserted by the Black Aja and Ishamael. Like, it's just so effective. And yeah, like you said, it's been articulated by bad people who have been paid good government dollars to learn how to be bad people.
And so I feel like that's something that Nyneave is breaking through, is this just sort of, I'm not going to be malicious, I'm not going to be compliant maliciously, right? And like, I feel like so much of the tower is frozen because they've been trained to be. And I see this in a lot of corporations too, right? Like, how these corporations suck. And it's like, because you have these people who create, and that's where, like, yes, it's the Black Aja, but it's also just the inherent bureaucracy, the inherent weight of the institution that has existed and functioned for such a long time. And Nyneave is breaking those down.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I came across an essay several years ago about how America is a corporate structure, and we have a corporate rule book for like how we exist as a society, and just kind of went through like, here's how like corporate speak works, and then here's like how the rules of like being a good little cog in the capitalist machine and upholding white supremacy and all of that like works. And it is like point for point the same thing. Here's the business rule book for how we keep everyone in their relative positions in the financial hierarchy. And that really fits with this whole White Tower idea of just like, these rules matter a lot because they keep you oppressed and in the point in the chain of being that the institution needs you to be at. And Nyneave is like, but that's ineffective for my skill set, so I'm going to be independent. I mean, she literally says, I'm going to go be with Rand regardless of what titles you give me. Like, I know my skills and my power and my worth. And the Dragon Reborn knows my skills and my power and my worth. Like, I don't need you to certify me.
And it's also like, and Egwene's like, it'd be a bad idea not to certify someone who, and then lists Nynaeve's resume, which is like has done more than any Aes Sedai in all of history in like 2 years.
Oh, and she's married to the King of Malkir.
Right, and is a queen.
And then, yeah, Nyneave actually says here kind of what I was saying, because Sanderson does occasionally lay stuff out on the page in a way I agree with.
I mean, he lays it all out, so.
Yeah. I wonder if we sometimes put the White Tower as an institution before the people we serve. I wonder if we let it become a goal in itself instead of a means to help us achieve greater goals. Is this not the experience of so many people who go into like some kind of change making or activism direction, and then they end up just,
nonprofits everywhere,
doing PR for people who didn't need help and not actually fixing the problem that motivated them to join up with the larger cause in the first place?
I think a lot about the efforts to combat homelessness here in Portland and stuff like that, because there are so many institutions that are formed around the very good desire to help the people who are homeless in Portland. And a lot of them end up functioning in a way where they are perpetuating the problem and making money doing it.
Yeah. Profitable charity. Two words that should not go together.
Well, the organization itself is never making money, but the CEOs running it, who are making millions and millions and millions of dollars, are. And so it just becomes an institution that should eliminate itself, right? And it just has no motivation to do that.
Right.
And so I question how effective they are. In a lot of cases, it's meetings about meetings to talk about where to build stuff. And by the time all the planning is done and the engineering is done and the politics are done, you build 3 homes and house 2 families, and it's like, oh, we spent $10 million on what effectively feels like a boondoggle.
Right. And then here's this other part in here that is so related to that. Like, no homeless people are ever in those meetings, right? They never actually go out on the street and ask the literal homeless people what they need and get it to them forthwith in 2 business days.
Because the answer is cash.
Exactly, because they just circle jerk about it. And here's, from Nyneave, so many of us do this without families. Even while we try to guide the world, we separate ourselves from it. We risk arrogance. We always assume we know what is best, but risk making ourselves unable to fathom the people we claim to serve. This was a huge part of what I learned in geography. My geography program was like, you need to talk to everyone who has a stake in the situation. Stakeholders means people who are affected, not just the people who are investing. And that was such a profound lens to bring to that entire program. And that's what this is here too. Like, if you're not talking to the people you're trying to serve, you're doing it wrong.
And for companies, you need to talk to your employees. You need to talk, you can't just ignore your employees. And so many companies are like, well, we serve the shareholders and that's all we do. And that's all we're ever going to do. Yeah. Vuji, yes, the American system does seem kind of backwards because it is kind of backwards because it's based on a slavery first system.
Yep.
And we got off of that direct slavery system, but we got into a system where you need to prove your worth constantly.
Yeah.
Or else you end up homeless or in jail. And if you're in jail, you can be a slave again.
Yeah, because we actually didn't get rid of slavery. We got rid of slavery except for caveat. And it's like, that's not getting rid of slavery.
And I was like, oh, well, at least it's just like, it can't be that common, right? And then you look at we produce, I think the slavery labor in this country produces billions of dollars worth of goods every year.
There are more people in chains doing more or less unpaid labor now than there were at the height of chattel slavery. Like, partially that is population growth, obviously, but
right, it's as the percentage of the population, it's much smaller, but as overall numbers in our 350 million population country,
it's a lot more people, more human hours of labor being forcibly stolen and injected into the economy and the creation of products. It's just extremely... We're not done yet, America. We didn't finish the assignment.
No, and if you think all of that free prison labor doesn't affect wages, you're dreaming.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Because otherwise all of those goods we'd have to pay somebody to produce those goods, and those would all be jobs that we would have to pay people for, and the price of those goods would go up.
And technically these people are being paid, so it's not it's one of those literalism things. It's not really slavery because they do get paid 35 cents a day. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Totally different.
No, it's ridiculous. But then they get charged for things like phone calls in prison for $10 a phone call or something like that. Yeah. So
yeah. No, it's many podcasts worth of yelling about how this is all absolute nonsense. Mm-hmm. Not the soapbox that we have time for today, but there's a lot of content out there if you want to learn about this. We're not making it up. We are pulling from very, very direct reading and podcast listening.
And news reporting.
I might have been euphemizing 35 cents a dame for some things, but
I think as little as $1 an hour is a legitimate figure that is like an average figure that people are being paid.
Yeah, that's less of a euphemism and more of actually accurate. But yeah, I don't think Nyneave would approve of any of it personally. No,
and I do think that gosh, it's just the White Tower as an institution. She says it as an institution. It's hard to just not be like institutions, right? Because we're putting the White Tower in that category.
It's an institution. It's 3,000 years of academia and politicking.
And then, so the next thing I really have is Saren complaining about the balefire.
They try to use this like carrot stick thing of like, well, you have to promise not to ever use this. If you want your treat, if you want your cookie of your shawl, you're going to have to. And Nynaeve's like, no, that's dumb and will get me killed. I do not need your certification that much. Like, and she literally says, if this is the line that it will take to get my certification, I would rather you didn't certify me. I don't actually want your approval if this is the line in the sand you're going to draw. Makes them back down real fast.
This is her walking away from the job interview because the salary's not good enough. The benefits aren't good enough, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, we can hire you.
They're trying to bargain her down. She's like,
Yeah, no, you have to write it into my contract that balefire is something I can use, or I'm not joining this crew.
Yeah, if you don't trust me to know when to use a very dangerous weave and when not to, I'd rather you not raise me. Just throws it back in their faces. And then, yeah, they close the ceremony. Now it's over. It's done. Her relative passing grade will not be discussed in public or ever, because talking about your feelings is against the Aes Sedai ethos.
Mm-hmm. And that's just like they're hazing, right? They're going through this hazing ritual, and you don't talk about the hazing because then people won't want to be a part of it.
Maybe hazing is bad.
But that's exactly what this is, right? Because this is different. This is different than the accepted test. The accepted test is a challenge that you face with no external input. This is a bunch of people choosing to abuse you in the moment for no reason other than to prove that you can be abused and still channel, right? But it's like, essentially, imagine in a frat, recite the oath that we make you memorize while we're beating you naked, or spraying you with freezing cold water out in the snow naked, right? And recite the thing, and like you have to prove your loyalty to us. You have to go through this thing. It's hazing, pure and simple.
It's so similar to the Aiel way too, right? The first test with the rings is very much about your future, and it's very personal, and it's very just you. It's between you and the ter'angreal, whereas getting your second certification is about, putting up with a bunch of bullying.
And think about where Jordan came up through, right? Think about the schools he went through. Like, I cannot believe there wasn't a fair amount of hazing, both in the military and at the Citadel.
Yeah, I don't know much about all that, but that seems like a reasonable extrapolation, given the fact that this pattern exists.
I am making assumptions there, but yes, but based on the time of that he would have been going to school then, because that was really before hazing was understood as something as being bad, right? And how many people were actually dying from it, right? Like, and things like that, right? I think there was a time when like hazing was just like you joined a frat and you got hazed, right? Like that was a much more normalized thing. You joined the military, you got hazed, right? Like that was just, there's a term for it called hazing, right? Like it was very common. Even many sports teams that I was a part of had some level of that. It was a little more ritualist, a little more embarrassment based, and a little less danger based. There's been a switch, but certainly growing up, like I remember joining the swim team and having to perform in front of the team in a way that I wasn't comfortable with.
Yeah, Waldorf didn't have anything like that. We really didn't. And then theater kids, at least the ones I interacted with, like that was not part of that entire branch of the social world that I interacted with. I mean, the closest I can think of is like being really bad at improv, like in improv classes. Like that felt like it was such a humiliating thing to like try to like do improv as like a sheltered little freshman, and like I did very badly at it because I just very autistically like just did not quite get the overarching concept of what I was trying to do, and it just felt, but like that was me. That was not intentionally hazing. That was the class. That was just like what was supposed to happen. So I don't know if I've ever actually experienced myself or anyone close to me like told me about that. That's I don't like how common it is. I've heard about it so much broadly. I don't think this is good. I don't think this is good for people. Stop it.
Not generally. I mean, I get why they're doing it, right? There's a certain amount of community through shared hardships, and there's two ways to create hardships, right? There is a natural way, and there's an artificial way. And sometimes if you create artificial hardships that everybody has gone through, everyone in the years before you, even if they only go through it their first year, they have gone through it. And there's a certain amount of, I suffered that way as well. And welcome. That's what makes us different. Then it gives you an insider, an us versus them, insider versus outsider, right? Which is super easy to create in people because we're naturally prone to it. And this is one of the quickest ways to do it.
Yeah, no, trauma bonding as a means of team building is definitely real. And I will say there was definitely some joking about that in the geology department with respect to certain field camps. Like, oh, have you survived Polita Folds yet? Because if you have gone to that field camp, you know that is an absolute nightmare to map. But it was more of a joke. It was, the natural thing.
That's more natural because, and it's also like you have to go there because the work is there. And that's the hard part is doing the work. And it's not like, oh, did you survive the camp? That's that place where they make you sit outside for extra days for no reason until you're sunburned. And if you survive the extra punishment that has nothing to do with the work that you're forced to do or the bad conditions you're forced to do work in.
I think I would just fail at a hazing ritual. I think I'd be like, this is dumb.
This is
I
dumb.
don't want to be in your club. I don't think I would do very well at this. I'm glad I was never attracted to groups that wanted that, because that would have been a weird rejection to navigate.
It's as part of masking, right? If you're masking hard enough, you can mask through something like that and act the way other people are acting, despite how traumatizing it may be.
Yeah, Dr. Pants. I was never sad that I didn't want to join a sorority, because I had heard weird things. And I was like, you know what? The 10 miles of distance between me and anything approaching that is fine. I'm okay.
And for me, it was the swim team. I was on the swim team my whole life, and sports teams aren't quite as bad as sororities, but the sports teams I were on had a lot of aspects of fraternities and sororities in them.
I did have a babysitter, high schooler, who did get thrown in a lake because she was the coxswain for a winning row team. And that was the prize for winning, was getting to throw not the coxswain, the caller. That was the prize, was the team that did the rowing got to throw their collar into the drink if they won. It's not quite hazing, but still, like, you will be subjected to an uncomfortable thing as part of the team building exercise.
When I was coaching summer league swimming, if we won, they got to throw the coach in the pool at the end of the event. But that was fine because it was hot as shit out. You wanted to get tossed in. And
there was also a donation drive at college where, like, the faculty would be like, okay, whichever department like raises the most money, like, I'll get pied in the face. Like, that was a thing at my little college. So there was 8 faculty who were like, yes, I will be in the rotation, and like whoever like manages to raise enough money, I'll take the hit. And
And those feel a little more like the coaches kind of agree to that. There's a certain level of agreement of like, if you do this, I'll let you do that. There's consent involved.
Especially with a power dynamic flip,
yeah.
Right? Like normally
exactly.
They're in charge,
exactly.
And they're like, fine, I'll like let you have king for a day, or like a Saturnalia like kind of thing.
Yeah. Your student, my student's throwing me in the pool, right? That's a power imbalance, different in the other way, right?
But this here in the White Tower seems a little more intense, and I do like how the accepted test is much more about like, this is about your inner reasons. The Terran will get into your subconscious and force you to deal with your inner reasons for this.
Mm-hmm. Past, present, future type situation. Yeah.
This is just, how do you fit into the social pecking order?
Right.
Yeah, and Nyneave's answer to that is, you and whose army is going to make me. Only Lan can make her do anything.
So we end this chapter with her making a gateway to visit. Speaking of Lan, because there is that like vision of Lan at the end, to visit Myrelle.
Yeah, she's like, okay, I know I got to do the meditation and everything before the ceremony tomorrow, but first, I need to go threaten Myrelle to get Lan's bond. She goes to the camp, which is outside of the Black Tower, right? It's very fortunate that this embassy has not been allowed in to do their job of bonding Ashaman yet, because then Nyneave wouldn't be able to get to Myrelle.
Well, maybe it's actually unfortunate, because if they were in there, she would have had to get to Myrelle, and she would have just handled the whole Black Tower situation.
Fair enough. Yeah, true. That's true.
That could have been a much quicker plot line if Nyneave had walked in and be like, all right, Dark Friend, I'm shutting you down.
That would have been good. Yeah.
No, obviously it would have been a disaster, but like, yeah, I kind of imagine just Nyneave just being like, nope, just shutting down these 20 men. No big deal. I've got because if she has a paralysis net, she's basically indestructible. Like, I could see her taking down a lot of channelers with her paralysis net on.
And there's really not that many in charge there. They don't have their full army of drones yet.
But no, Myrelle is camped outside because I don't know if there's actually the Dream Spike on the Black Tower yet, but she's just outside it, if it is.
Yeah, this is still them waiting on permission to go in from the Ashaman. And yeah, Myrelle is in her tent, clearly having a fun time with one of her warders, right? She's wearing very little, he's wearing less, and Nyneave is interrupting.
Oh, I missed that.
Very awkward. Yeah,
totally
no, it says Myrelle wore a blue nightgown that was almost translucent, and one of her warders sat shirtless on the tent floor inside. They were like playing, like, games. They were playing adult games. And Nyneave is coming in there very awkwardly, being like, I need you to do business for a sec, real quick. And Myrelle tries to brush her off, and then Nyneave is awesome about it. And by awesome, I mean aggressive.
Yeah, no, this is just fun. This is definitely one of those moments that's like a finally moment. Like, Nyneave finally, this is definitely Sanderson checking this off. Like, Nyneave finally needs to be bonded to Lan. Are you kidding me? Why has this not happened yet? Why did it not happen when Nyneave was first raised as Aes Sedai by Egwene? At that moment, she should have gone to Myrelle and gotten the bond. Like, this is long overdue. It also answered some questions about how the bond works and like how you can transfer it. You just need the two Aes Sedai in the same place. The bond is this independent thing they can pass around and sever and control from their end from wherever they are. They don't need Lan there once it's been formed. Handy, yeah.
And yeah, I just kind of have like a good readout of that victory lap moment that closes the chapter. Don't really have much to say about it other than it fucking rules.
I watched a movie last night, The Blackening. It's a horror comedy, but this scene of Myrelle walking out, it's reminding me of seeing these two characters. It's a horror movie, so two characters go off in private to have sex, and then they come back, and the girl walks in and gives her friend a hug, and she's like, "Girl, you smell like cock. Who you been fucking?" And then he walks in behind her, and everyone goes, "Oh." Like, I don't know. That just reminded me of Myrelle walking out of the tent with the warder coming up behind him.
Yeah, basically that.
Oh, that was a really funny movie, by the way. Highly recommend it. Both me and Never liked. If you're looking for a good horror movie, The Blackening, all black characters, talks a lot about racism. Right, like it's this sort of game is set up to kill them, and it's just deeply racist, and so they're constantly like going into and like, yeah, it's very funny.
Cool, not my genre, but glad that happened for you.
Well, it is October, so I'm sure, yes, some people will enjoy it.
Sure, there's your movie recommendation from Watt Spoilers for an October movie.
And let me make sure I got the name of that right before you publish this. Yes, The Blackening.
All right. I'll put a link to the IMDb.
The tagline: "We can't all die first."
Oh, nice. Very good. Oh, that's funny. I think I heard about this. This is a couple years old.
2022. Yeah.
I feel like I remember reading a review when it came out of someone being like, the number of like black people in horror movie tropes being decisively like just taken apart and played with as a movie is apparently it was very good. I remember reading from some black commentator being like, well, that was fun. That was a really fun like highlight reel of all the bullshit we deal with in the horror genre. But
at the same time, just very funny and also very well done.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Done in a way that was like uplifting of the correct take, which is that's dumb. So I do remember hearing about this, but yeah, it's just not my genre. So
totally fair. But I would recommend it even to people who are not big horror movie fans, right? Oh. Like I feel like the horror movie aspect of it is almost beside the point.
Sure. It's commentary in the context of a horror movie.
Yes.
Right. Well, I will go watch the trailer because I love watching trailers. And maybe I'll watch it. So
yeah, this is my argument. But yeah, I think that's. Did you do the readout?
No, I'm ready to do the readout.
Okay, I distracted us. Sorry.
Yeah. It's all good.
I tangented hard on this episode, but I think it was worth. Like, I think there was a lot of good jumping off points in this chapter. So
No, I'm really glad that we did it in such great detail and that we only did one chapter. This was definitely a one-off for sure.
Yep. I looked at this and was like, yes, we're definitely going to dive deep into Nyneave's test. There's no doubt. I want to have the time and not feel rushed.
Yeah. All right, here's the readout. Nyneave caught the woman's arm. I have never thanked you, she said, though she had to grit her teeth to get the words out. I do so now. He lives because of you. I realize that. However, Morel, this is not a time to push me. Today, I have seen people I love slaughtered. I have been forced to consign children to living torment. I have been burned, scourged, and harrowed. I swear to you, woman, if you do not pass me Lan's bond this very moment, I will step into that tent and teach you the meaning of obedience. Do not press me. In the morning, I swear the 3 oaths. I am free of them for one more night. Morel froze. Then she sighed and stepped back out of the tent. So be it. She closed her eyes, weaving spirit and sending the weaves into Nyneave. It felt like an object being shoved physically into her mind. Nyneave gasped, her surroundings spinning. Morel turned and slipped back into her tent. Nyneave slid down until she was sitting on the ground. Something was blossoming inside her mind. An awareness. Beautiful. Wonderful. It was him, and he was still alive. Blessed light, she thought, eyes closed. Thank you. She knows now. She's been trusting he's alive this whole time. Now she knows. Now she has an up to the second meter of Lan's aliveness. And just, I love her. Like, I have one more night free of the 3 oaths. And if you don't think I will use everything that the 3 oaths forbids to get this bond from you, you are mistaken. And Morel's just like, yeah, no, okay. All right, fine. Like, this is not worth it. I want to go back to fucking my warder.
I would have liked to see some discussion about Moraine and her intentions and like that whole promise to Lan that you'll thank me in the end, right? Like something like that would have been nice to see. And I do like Nyneave bullying her a little bit, but her maybe coming back being like, listen, Moraine intended for me to hold on to this bond until, and I need to go until it came to me because I'm the man he loves. That was her intention. You saved his life. She did do a little bit of that of you saved his life, and I appreciate that. But talk about Moraine, because it would have made the hug a little more payoffable.
That would have helped, yeah. Because, yeah, Morel has more backbone than that and being like, look, I wasn't being petty or vindictive or trying to keep him from you. I was waiting for you to be ready because that's what I promised Moraine. And my promise to Moraine matters more than helping you and Lan get hooked up, okay? And then Nyneave could be like, well, the promise fulfilled. Give now.
Yeah.
And then Morel would be like, yeah, you're right. You passed the test. Correct. Okay, I'm giving it. It would have been fun for Morel to be less of a pushover in this moment. But still, Nynaeve's rant is perfect.
Yes. No, very good moment. I can nitpick, but otherwise very well done.
Yeah. And of course, Kate Redding's rendition of it is fantastic because Kate does angry so good.
Yes. It's the more emotion there is, the more fun it is to read. I've already learned that.
Truly,
just from our read-ins and outs, right? Like, my favorite characters are still the insane ones for some reason. I will say that Morel's sexy warder is Nuhel Dromond, the one who started this whole conversation. That's apparently the Illianer. That's her warder.
Yeah, big bear of a man. That's apparently what she likes.
I mean, Lan's not small.
Nope. No, he is not. And we will pick this up again next week with, I think, another doubleheader, but we're getting into a meatier part of the book, so...
Yep, this is definitely hitting the Sanderlanche a little bit. Like, we are on that slide. The shale is moving. We're seeing rumblings. Like, a lot more exciting stuff is going on.
So, yeah, we will be back next week with more of that. And for now, we're going to go work on our secret project that we're being really not subtle about. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.